In this episode of Hacking Autism, I'm going to talk about hacking autism as an entrepreneur and the lessons I've learned over the year and a half I've been in business. And those lessons I've learned from my dad as spending a lifetime as a successful entrepreneur. See, my dad is 1,000% on the spectrum, even though he's never been diagnosed. He's always said he was cut from a different cloth and thought differently from everyone else. That different way of thinking is what set him apart in the business world. Today, I'm going to give you 3 tips for being successful as an autistic entrepreneur, so stay tuned. Hacking Autism is a podcast all about how to leverage autism as an unfair advantage. I'm your host, Kelsey Terry. Today, we're going to talk about how to be successful as an entrepreneur on the spectrum, but first, I think I should explain why I think people on the spectrum can sometimes thrive most in the workforce as an entrepreneur. That reason is you're your own boss. Therefore, no one can fire you from your own business. This was a central selling point to my father at a young age as he created numerous side hustles. As long as you maintain a profitable business, you don't have to nail small talk or worry about office politics, especially if you're a solopreneur. Cash often speaks loudest in business, and so if you've got a great idea with a working business model, it's hard for people to dispute that success, and you don't have to worry about looking for a job. Let's shift to the 3 ways to hack your autism as an entrepreneur. Number 1, the ability to focus. Focus can be one of the more obvious traits found with someone on the spectrum, but when it comes to being self-employed, there are infinite directions you can take. Focusing on executing the very thing in front of you is key to long-term success. Focusing on the right things and going 10 miles deep to find the best answer has really served me well in my software testing business, Spectrum QA. As an entrepreneur, you need to learn about tedious things like unemployment insurance. Often this can be overwhelming to anyone starting a business, but by leveraging my superpower of focus, I am able to knock one thing out after another. Before you know it, I've hit my critical milestones for the week, or I've caught an unfavorable clause in the contract that someone tried to slide past me. Number 2, thinking outside of the box. Spectrum brains are powerful and by default differently wired. Do yourself a favor and Google an autistic brain versus a non-autistic brain. I think you'll be very encouraged with what you see. For those of you driving right now, the spectrum mind has roughly 10x the neural connections of the other brain. In business, you can use this to your advantage to think of new ways to sell your product or service. Innovation is the name of the game, and so I've been very cognizant from the onset of my business to ask the question, how do most people solve this problem? Or how could I rewrite the book when it comes to providing best-in-class testing support for growing companies? The answer, go way upstream to the root of the issue to ensure a better outcome for all stakeholders. Another example of thinking outside of the box in my company is leveraging a team of people on the spectrum as a competitive advantage for finding bugs in software. Most QA companies compete on price, but I don't want to be caught in a race to the bottom. Thinking outside of the box, I asked myself, what if I hire the best testers in the world in a group of people that most overlook or would never be considered for the job in the first place? 9 years ago, I read an article in The Economist magazine about European QA companies exclusively staffed by people on the spectrum. The amazing news, they were crushing the competition because of their ability to focus and be exceedingly forthright about their test results. Today, there are more companies like that popping up, which is phenomenal. But I wanted to take that a step further, so I decided to become the first Spectrum-led and Spectrum-staffed QA company. However, I think that would be a disservice to create a neurological echo chamber. And so it's my plan to have a blended team of people that are on and off the spectrum so that both groups can grow in empathy as they work together daily. Number 3, expertise. Fellow spectrum dwellers, there are probably several core topics in your life that you know better than 99% of the population. Perhaps it's the Titanic, a personal favorite of mine, or Sino-American trade policy, another favorite. You could create a podcast, a YouTube channel, or an online course on that very topic. I've heard it said that the riches are in the niches. And what that means is people that care about a very specific thing, like software engineers enjoying powerlifting, they tend to love apparel with phrases that only people of that subcategory would understand. You can build an entire business around one of your passions because you're a bona fide expert on the topic, and going to work is not going to be a chore for you because it's something you love. As an aside, who would have thought 10 years ago video gamers would make as much as pro athletes? If any of you know someone that is on the spectrum and a professional video game athlete, I would love to talk to them in an upcoming episode. Now, there are a few things to watch out for as an entrepreneur. Number one, make sure to take time for self-care and learn to manage stress well. Recently, I have become an absolute fitness and nutrition nut because it has helped me to manage the common stresses that exist as a business owner. Number two, have a trusted mentor that you can run things by. When various opportunities come up, I like to have a trusted resource. That's not my husband. My business mentor and I dialogue through potential pitfalls and benefits of any opportunity, and more than once that has made a world of difference in the life of my business. Lastly, make sure to get out of the office and connect with other entrepreneurs. We all face common challenges, and it has made a world of difference for me personally, particularly when they can walk me through step by step how they solved the same problem. In conclusion, I think becoming an entrepreneur is a great career choice, and doing life on the spectrum can prove to be a real advantage in business. If you're an entrepreneur, I would love to hear what are your keys to success and what are the pitfalls that you try to avoid. I'd love to connect on Instagram or Twitter under the handle iHackAutism, and I'll catch you guys next time.